Stay away from the Reinhardt account if you know what's good for you. That $7 million belongs in experienced hands. Mine. Keep interfering, and I'll make sure you're cleaning out your desk by month's end. Finn's fingers dug into my arm as he cornered me in the empty corridor. I felt each of his manicured fingertips like tiny branding irons through my sleeve. The boss's son leaned so close I could smell the expensive coffee on his breath. I met his stare and smiled slightly. Okay. My calm response made him flinch. He expected tears, panic, maybe even begging, not the quiet certainty in my eyes. Confusion flickered across his face before he recovered with a final sneer and strutted away, his Italian shoes clicking against the polished floor. Before I continue telling you what happened next, I want to thank you for listening to my story. It means a lot to me. Let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from today. I'd love to know who's hearing this. My name is Darcy, and until that moment in the hallway, I'd been practically invisible at Burkfield Financial Advisors. That was by design. For 3 years, I'd worked diligently building client relationships while staying beneath notice. I took weekend appointments others avoided, learned every detail of my clients' lives, remembered their children's birthdays and graduation dates. I wasn't supposed to rise. Women like me, from community college, with a secondhand wardrobe and no family connections, weren't meant to handle million-dollar accounts. We were supposed to be grateful for the chance to answer phones and schedule meetings. But I had quietly outperformed every expectation, even if few noticed. Finn arrived 6 months ago with nothing but his father's last name and an attitude of ownership. Gerald Burkfield, the founder, had built the firm from nothing 30 years earlier. Now in his 70s, he was gradually stepping back, and his son was stepping in. Finn had an MBA from an elite university, but no practical experience. The first day, he used the reserved parking space with his name already painted on it. By the second week, he had the corner office, with the view of the river. He spoke over women in meetings. He took credit for others' ideas. He assigned the best potential clients to his friends from college, who'd followed him to the firm. None of this was unusual in our industry. What made Finn dangerous was his father's unconditional trust. Most of the staff adapted quickly. They laughed at his jokes, agreed with his suggestions, and invited him to their weekend gatherings. I simply continued doing my job exceptionally well. Maybe that's why he noticed me. I wasn't playing his game. The $7 million client, Eliza Reinhardt, an elderly woman who had built her fortune from nothing, specifically requested me after hearing me speak at a free community workshop on financial literacy for seniors. I hadn't sought her out. She found me. This was the largest potential account I'd ever been assigned, and perhaps the largest new account of the quarter. The morning after Eliza requested me, I arrived to find my desk drawer slightly open. My client files were rearranged. The next day, my computer password, mysteriously, reset. Then came the whispers. I heard she's only getting these accounts because she meets clients after hours. Someone said she's related to one of the board members. Did you know she was investigated at her last job? None of it was true. But truth rarely matters when rumors start. When word spread through the office about Eliza Reinhardt's account, Finn transformed from merely unpleasant to actively harmful. During meetings, he'd interrupt my presentations with corrections. He'd brush against my desk, knocking papers to the floor. When I spoke, he'd check his watch loudly until I stopped talking. His tactics worked. Coworkers stopped eating lunch with me. My weekly reports went unacknowledged. The message was clear: side with me and suffer too. I documented everything quietly. Every email, every interaction, every coincidental meeting cancellation. Not for a lawsuit, those rarely end well for people like me, but because information is protection. The founder, once brilliant, now fading, rarely visited anymore. His son was his eyes and ears, painting whatever picture suited him. Gerald believed his son was learning the business from the ground up, not realizing Finn was gutting the company's future by driving away talent and focusing only on prestigious accounts that boosted his reputation. Despite the threat, I prepared meticulously for my meeting with Eliza. I researched her business history, developed 3 potential investment strategies, and arrived 30 minutes early to the office on Saturday to ensure everything was perfect. The meeting room's temperature was adjusted to be slightly warmer than normal, as older clients often prefer. I had her favorite tea, Earl Grey, with a slice of lemon, ready. She arrived precisely at the appointed time, a small woman with striking white hair and alert brown eyes that missed nothing. She wore simple clothes that had been tailored perfectly to her frame, and a single pearl necklace. No ostentatious displays of wealth. I liked her immediately. "You must be Darcy," she said, her handshake firm. "I am. It's a pleasure to meet you properly, Miss Reinhardt." "Eliza, please." She settled into the chair I held for her. I don't believe in formality getting in the way of honest conversation. We spent the first hour discussing her financial goals. She was thoughtful and precise. Unlike many wealthy clients, she asked questions about each recommendation, testing whether I truly understood the strategies or was simply reciting memorized pitches. "Your workshop was different from others I've attended," she said as we reviewed the third option. "Most advisors talk down to seniors. You didn't." "Financial health shouldn't be mysterious," I replied. "My grandmother lost everything to a so-called advisor who used jargon to confuse her. Clarity matters more than sounding impressive." Something in her expression shifted. She studied me with new interest. "Tell me about your background, Darcy, not the version in your company biography." I hesitated only briefly. "I grew up poor, single mother, 3 jobs. College wasn't the plan until my high school economics teacher convinced me I had an aptitude for finance. Community college while working full-time, then night classes to finish my degree. Not the typical path into this industry." "No," she said with the ghost of a smile. "Not typical at all." As we wrapped up, she asked about meeting again the following week to continue our discussion. I agreed readily, explaining I'd prepare more detailed projections based on our conversation. "There's one more thing," Eliza said, as she gathered her belongings. "I'd like Gerald Burkfield to join us next time. I understand he's less involved these days, but I'd prefer he be present for the formal agreement." My stomach tightened. Gerald rarely attended client meetings anymore, unless Finn deemed them important enough, which meant Finn would be there too. But I kept my expression neutral. "Of course, I'll arrange it." 2 days later, I received a calendar invitation for the follow-up meeting. Gerald had accepted, as had Finn. That same afternoon, Finn cornered me in the hallway with his threat. After he left, I returned to my desk and continued preparing for the meeting, as if nothing had happened. But inside, my mind was racing. Why was Eliza so insistent on meeting Gerald? What would Finn do to undermine me before then? The day of the meeting arrived. I wore my best outfit, a navy dress and blazer I'd saved for months to buy. Not designer, but well-made and professional. I arrived an hour early, reviewing my presentation one last time. Eliza arrived next, dressed similarly to our first meeting. When Gerald appeared with Finn hovering behind him, her expression hardened. "I requested a private meeting," she said, voice crisp. Gerald waved dismissively. "My son represents our future leadership. He attends all major client discussions." "Very well," she replied, settling into her chair. She turned toward me. "Darcy, before we begin, I need to explain why I chose to work with you specifically." Finn smirked at me from behind his father, clearly misreading her intentions. I felt a flutter of unease. This wasn't proceeding like a normal client meeting. 25 years ago, Eliza began, her eyes fixed on mine. "I found myself in a situation I never expected." 25 years ago, Eliza began, her eyes fixed on mine. "I found myself in a situation I never expected. I lost everything, my home, my savings, my dignity, due to a medical emergency that drained my accounts. I was 62 years old and suddenly homeless. My heart hammered against my ribs. The room seemed to tilt slightly. A young woman, just 19, worked at the diner where I spent my days to stay warm. She noticed me wearing the same clothes day after day. Instead of reporting me to management, as many would have, she invited me to stay with her. Eliza's voice remained steady, but emotion shimmered beneath the surface. This young woman shared her tiny apartment with me for months, even though she had almost nothing herself. Memories flooded back. The cramped studio apartment, the fold-out couch we took turns sleeping on, the single window that never fully closed. She worked double shifts so I could eat. She helped me apply for benefits I didn't know existed. When I finally got back on my feet and found a tiny place of my own, she refused any repayment. Eliza paused. This woman never asked for anything in return. She believed in me when no one else would. Gerald leaned forward, confusion etched across his weathered face. Finn's smirk had vanished. "I never knew her last name," Eliza continued. "We lost touch when she moved for college. But at that workshop last month, I recognized her voice immediately. Some things you never forget. She looked at me directly, eyes bright with unshed tears. It was you, Darcy. The air left the room. Gerald looked between us, confusion turning to understanding. Finn's face drained of color. What I never mentioned, Eliza continued, her voice stronger now, was what became of the small craft business I restarted after getting back on my feet. It grew. Substantially. She straightened in her chair. I didn't choose your firm for its reputation, Mr. Burkfield. I chose it because of her, and now I've learned how she's been treated here. Gerald turned to me. Is this true? Before I could answer, Finn cut in. Father, this is obviously some kind of… I wasn't speaking to you, Gerald said sharply, eyes never leaving mine. Yes, I said simply. I didn't recognize Miss Reinhardt immediately. It was a long time ago, and I've helped many people over the years. But when she mentioned the diner during our first meeting, I started to remember. Gerald removed his glasses, rubbing the bridge of his nose. Why didn't you say anything? Would it have mattered? I asked quietly. Would it have changed anything about how I'm valued here? The silence that followed provided its answer. Eliza placed her handbag on the table with purpose. I've come today with two proposals. The first concerns my $7 million portfolio, which I'd like Darcy to manage exclusively. She removed a folder and slid it across the table. The second is more substantial. Finn tried to reach for the folder, but Gerald took it first, opening it with deliberate slowness. This is… Gerald trailed off, eyes widening. My true holdings. Eliza finished for him. The craft business was just the beginning. My actual net worth is closer to $24 million. I'm considering moving all of it to your firm, but only under specific conditions. The room went still. Even the usual office sounds seemed muted. First, Darcy receives full commission and management authority for my accounts. Second, she's promoted to senior advisor effective immediately, with the salary and benefits appropriate to that position. Eliza didn't blink as she continued. Third, I want a written acknowledgement of the harassment she's experienced, an assurance it won't continue. Gerald closed the folder carefully. Miss Reinhardt, while I appreciate your loyalty to Darcy, our firm has established protocols for advancement and… How many of your current senior advisors outperformed every metric for 3 consecutive years? Eliza interrupted. How many brought in new clients during the downtown last year when others were losing them? How many have client retention rates above 90%? Gerald's expression confirmed the answer. None. Your firm's protocols haven't recognized exceptional talent, Eliza continued. They've preserved a comfortable hierarchy. She stood. I'll give you 48 hours to consider my proposal before I approach other firms. After Eliza left, Gerald asked me to wait while he spoke privately with Finn. Through the glass walls of the conference room, I watched their animated discussion. Finn's face reddened as he pointed repeatedly in my direction. Gerald remained impassive, occasionally shaking his head. 20 minutes later, Gerald returned alone. How long has my son been undermining you? He asked without preamble. Since he arrived, I replied, then added, I have documentation. Gerald's eyebrows rose. Show me. I retrieved my laptop and opened a folder labeled Administrative Records. Inside were date-stamped screenshots of altered client files, recordings of meetings where my ideas were later claimed by others, and a spreadsheet tracking each incident of interference. Gerald's expression darkened as he scrolled through the evidence. Why didn't you come to me? Would you have believed me over your son? His silence answered for him. The next morning, I arrived to find Finn waiting by my desk, his expression a mixture of anger and calculation. Impressive performance yesterday, he said. Very touching story. It wasn't a performance. Maybe not. But do you really think one wealthy old lady can change anything? This is still my father's company, and I'm still his son. His smile didn't reach his eyes. Good luck with your promotion. For 2 weeks, nothing changed. My desk remained in the same location. No email announced my promotion. Eliza's account wasn't formally assigned to me. Coworkers whispered that she'd taken her money elsewhere, that the whole story had been exaggerated. Then one Tuesday morning, the facilities team arrived at my desk with a cart. We're moving you today, the manager said. Where to? 3rd floor, East Corner. The 3rd floor housed senior management. The East Corner had been vacant since the retirement of our former chief investment officer. As the elevator doors opened on the 3rd floor, I saw Gerald waiting in the hallway. Your office is ready, he said. And so is your team. My team? I repeated, stunned. 4 junior advisors, an administrative assistant, and a research analyst. They're waiting to meet you. I followed him down the hallway, past curious onlookers. The office was 3 times the size of my previous workspace, with windows on 2 sides. A new nameplate read, Darcy Mitchell, Senior Wealth Manager. Miss Reinhardt's accounts have been fully transferred to you, Gerald continued. She's also referred 3 other clients to you personally. Their combined assets exceed $35 million. I tried to process what was happening. And, Finn? Gerald's expression tightened. My son will be focusing on developing our international division. He leaves for our London office next week. Over the following months, I built my team carefully, choosing people based on talent rather than pedigree. We steadily accumulated new clients, often those overlooked by other advisors. Small business owners building wealth, first-generation professionals unsure of investment strategies, widows tired of being patronized. 3 months after my promotion, Eliza invited me to her home for tea. The address she provided led to a modest brownstone in an older neighborhood. Inside, the furnishings were comfortable, rather than opulent. The only obvious luxury was her art collection. Original works by local artists covered almost every wall. You seem surprised, she said, as she poured tea into delicate cups. I expected something more. Extravagant? She smiled. I never saw the point. My wealth is meant for creating change, not impressing others. We settled into comfortable chairs in her sunlit living room. I've been watching you struggle to help others while being undermined, she said. I saw myself in you, not just from our shared past, but in your determination to succeed on merit, rather than connections. She placed her teacup down deliberately. I want to start a new firm, she said, with you as partner. I nearly choked on my tea. What? A wealth management firm specifically designed for clients overlooked by traditional advisors. Women, minorities, self-made professionals without inherited wealth. Her eyes sparkled with enthusiasm. People like us, but I don't have the capital to. I do, she interrupted. I'm not offering charity, Darcy. I'm offering partnership. Your expertise and approach, combined with my capital and connections. What about Burkfield? Gerald just promoted me. After being forced to acknowledge your value, do you believe things have truly changed there? I thought about the senior management meetings where I was still interrupted. The clients who requested male advisors despite my record. The subtle ways success was attributed to luck rather than skill when it came from someone like me. No, I admitted. Not fundamentally. Change rarely comes from inside established systems, Eliza said. Sometimes you need to build something new. That evening, I couldn't sleep. Starting over meant risking everything I'd worked for. If we failed, I'd be blacklisted from major firms. But if we succeeded, the next morning, I requested a meeting with Gerald. His assistant scheduled it for later that week, but I received a call that afternoon, saying he could see me immediately. When I entered his office, his expression was knowing. Eliza Reinhardt made you an offer, he stated, rather than asked. I didn't bother denying it. How did you know? Because she made me one too. He leaned back in his chair. She's offering to buy a controlling interest in Burkfield. If I sell, she wants you to run it. The room seemed to spin. And if you don't, then you'll leave and take our best clients with you. He folded his hands on his desk. She's quite thorough. I haven't decided yet, I said truthfully. Gerald nodded slowly. My father built this firm from nothing. I expanded it. I always assumed Finn would take it further. He sighed. But I've watched you these past months. You build genuine connections. People trust you because you're trustworthy, not because of your last name. He opened his drawer and removed a thick folder. This is my counteroffer. Gerald slid the folder across his polished desk. This is my counteroffer. Full partnership, 30% equity in the firm, complete autonomy over your division, with the resources to implement the changes you've been advocating for. I didn't reach for the folder. And Finn? My son will remain in London indefinitely, until I leave or you retire, I pointed out. Then he returns and dismantles everything I've built. Gerald removed his glasses, suddenly looking every one of his 72 years. You're right, I can't guarantee what happens after I'm gone. So why would I stay? Because building something new means starting from nothing. Here, you already have infrastructure, Clients. Credibility. He leaned forward. And because I'm adding a succession clause, if you remain for 5 years and meet performance targets, you gain right of first refusal to purchase controlling interest when I retire. My brain raced through calculations. The targets would be challenging but achievable. The 5-year timeline was reasonable. But one question remained. Why me? After a decade of ignoring talent like mine, why change now? Gerald's expression softened with something like regret. When my wife died 15 years ago, I lost my compass. She always pushed me to see beyond appearances, to value substance over style. Somewhere along the way, I forgot that. He gestured toward the window. I built this company by recognizing potential others missed. Then I nearly destroyed it by missing what was right in front of me. I took the folder, but didn't open it. I need time to consider both offers. Of course. He stood, extending his hand. Whatever you decide, Darcy, know that I respect you. That's something I should have made clear long before now. That night, I spread both proposals across my kitchen table. Eliza's offer meant freedom, a fresh start, the chance to build something aligned perfectly with my values. Gerald's meant resources, established clients, and the potential for greater long-term impact. I called Eliza the next morning. "I've been expecting your call," she said. "Have you decided? I need to understand something first. Was this your plan all along? Finding me at that workshop, becoming my client, forcing Gerald's hand." Her laugh was gentle. "My dear, I'm strategic, not manipulative. I recognized you by chance. Everything after was simply opportunity meeting preparation. And buying Burkefield? Was that spontaneous too?" "No," she admitted. "That came after seeing how the organization operated. Some companies can evolve, others are too deeply rooted in outdated thinking. Gerald's offering me partnership, equity, a succession plan." Silence stretched between us. Then, "Take it." "What?" I hadn't expected that response. Transformation from within is harder but more powerful than starting over. If Gerald's truly willing to change the system, that impacts more lives than are competing with him. She paused. "But make certain his offer is ironclad. Men like Gerald make promises in moments of crisis they later convince themselves were merely suggestions." 2 days later, I sat across from Gerald with my attorney beside me. The partnership agreement underwent 4 revisions before I signed. My equity stake increased to 35%. The succession plan gained specific triggers and timelines. Most importantly, I received written authority over hiring, promotion, and client acceptance within my division. As I walked out of his office, now officially a partner, Finn was waiting in the hallway. His London relocation had apparently been delayed. "Congratulations," he said, voice dripping with disdain. "Quite the meteoric rise." "Thank you." I moved to walk past him. "You know this won't last, right?" He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "My father's having a sentimental moment. Once it passes, things will return to normal." I smiled. "I look forward to proving you wrong. People like you always hit a ceiling eventually. It's just how the world works." "The world is changing, Finn. You might want to consider changing with it." His laugh followed me down the hallway. "We'll see who's still standing in a year." The next 12 months were the most challenging of my career. I worked 16-hour days building my division, which I named Ascent Wealth Partners. I hired advisors from diverse backgrounds who understood the needs of clients typically ignored by traditional firms. We created educational workshops, simplified our fee structures, and built genuine relationships. Finn, meanwhile, remained in New York despite the London plan, working tirelessly to undermine me. He poached 2 of my advisors with promises of faster advancement. He spread rumors that my division was underperforming despite our numbers showing otherwise. In meetings, he questioned every decision, demanded excessive documentation, and suggested my success was due to special treatment. But something unexpected happened. The more he attacked, the more unified my team became. The more he complained about our methods, the more clients sought us out specifically for those approaches. His opposition became our most effective marketing. 9 months into my partnership, Eliza referred the Westman Foundation to us, a $15 million account. The foundation's leaders specifically requested our division after hearing about our community-centered approach. When we landed that account, Finn's attacks escalated. He cornered me after a leadership meeting. "You're bringing in the wrong kind of clients. These small foundations and first-generation wealth holders don't build long-term stability. Our retention rates suggest otherwise, I replied calmly. Because they don't know any better. They're grateful for anyone's attention. I felt a familiar tightness in my chest, but kept my expression neutral. Our division's revenue is up 62%. Client satisfaction exceeds the firm's average by 20 points. Those metrics speak for themselves. Numbers can be manipulated. His smile didn't reach his eyes. Don't get comfortable, Darcy. Your little experiment has novelty appeal. Nothing more. As I turned to leave, he added, by the way, the board is reviewing division performance next month. I've recommended scrutinizing yours closely, given the unconventional approach. That night, I called Eliza. The board review is Finn's attempt to discredit me, I explained. He's convinced several members that our division represents unacceptable risk. What does Gerald say? He believes the numbers will speak for themselves. But Finn has relationships with these board members that go back decades. They play golf together, attend the same social events, belong to the same clubs. Then you need more than numbers, she said simply. You need faces. The day of the board review arrived. I'd prepared a detailed presentation on our division's performance, growth projections, and risk management strategies. As I waited outside the boardroom, Finn emerged from inside, smirking. Just setting the stage, he said. Don't take it personally when this doesn't go your way. I entered the room to find 13 men and 2 women seated around an imposing table. Gerald nodded to me from the head. Miss Mitchell, we understand you have a presentation regarding Ascent's first-year performance, began Thomas Whitman, the lead director. Yes, but first, I'd like to introduce some guests. The doors opened, and 12 people entered, clients of various ages and backgrounds. Among them was Eliza. These are the faces behind our numbers, I explained. They've agreed to share briefly why they chose Ascent and what their experience has been. For the next 30 minutes, the board heard directly from clients, a woman who started a successful tech company after immigrating with nothing, a retired teacher whose modest savings had been dismissed as insignificant by previous advisors, a young entrepreneur who needed guidance navigating sudden wealth from selling his startup. Eliza spoke last. I've been wealthy for many years, she told them. In that time, I've worked with 8 different financial firms. None approached wealth management with the integrity and vision I've seen from Darcy and her team. She looked around the table. The question isn't whether Ascent is a risky experiment. It's whether the rest of Burkfield will recognize what's happening before competitors do. When our clients departed, the board's energy had shifted noticeably. The presentation that followed was almost anticlimactic. Our numbers weren't just good, they were exceptional. New client acquisition up 84%, retention at 98%, profitability exceeding projections by 23%. 2 days later, Gerald called me to his office. Finn sat beside his desk, expression unreadable. The board was impressed, Gerald began. They've approved expanding your division, doubling your budget, and implementing your client engagement model across the firm. Finn's jaw tightened visibly. There's more, Gerald continued. The board believes your approach represents the future of Burkfield. They've recommended accelerating our succession plan. My heart raced. Meaning? Meaning I'll be transitioning to chairman over the next year. My CEO responsibilities will be divided. He looked between us. Finn will oversee operations and infrastructure. You, Darcy, will lead client services and investment strategy. Finn stood abruptly. This wasn't the agreement. I was supposed to. The agreement was that you would prove yourself capable of leading this company into the future. Gerald interrupted. The board believes, and I agree, that future requires both of you. Different strengths for different challenges. I won't be her equal, Finn hissed. I won't accept it. Then you'll forfeit your position entirely, Gerald said quietly. The decision is final. 2 weeks later, I moved into my new office, directly across from Finn's. The glass walls between us served as a daily reminder of our forced partnership. Every morning when I arrived, earlier than him, I'd see his expression darken when he found me already working. Every client success for my division became a personal failure in his mind. For 6 months, we maintained an uneasy collaboration. Finn handled his responsibilities competently, despite his resentment. I focused on expanding our client-centered approach throughout the organization. Slowly, the company culture began to shift. Then came the Henderson account, Catherine Henderson had built a $300 million business from her kitchen table. Now, in her 60s, she was transitioning to retirement and seeking a wealth management firm to handle her considerable assets. Her representative reached out to both Finn and me simultaneously. "This is exactly the kind of high net worth client we need," Finn insisted during our leadership meeting. "My team has extensive experience with transitions of this magnitude. My division has a higher success rate with entrepreneurs," I countered. Our approach would resonate with her background. Gerald, now chairman, suggested a compromise. "Present together, show her what Burkfield can offer through your combined strengths." The meeting was scheduled for the following week. 3 days before, Finn requested all my preparation materials to ensure a unified approach. Remembering past experiences, I sent simplified versions while keeping my detailed analysis private. The morning of the presentation, I arrived to find Finn already in the conference room with Miss Henderson. My portion of the presentation was now scheduled last. After clients typically lost focus, my name had been removed from the proposal cover. I smiled, adjusted, and proceeded as if this were exactly what I expected. When my turn came, instead of rushing through relegated material, I connected directly with Catherine. I spoke about building something from nothing, about protecting legacy beyond finances, about the unique concerns that come from creating wealth rather than inheriting it. By the end, she was leaning forward, engaged despite the late time slot. "You understand," she said simply. 1 week later, Catherine Henderson's representative called. She had chosen Burkfield, specifically requesting that I serve as her primary advisor with Finn's operational team providing support. When the news spread through the office, Finn appeared at my door. "Congratulations," he said tightly. "Quite the achievement." "Thank you. I'm looking forward to our teams collaborating on this." His smile was brittle. "Of course. Though I'm curious, did you mention our prior connection to Miss Henderson during your private conversations with her?" Prior connection? I genuinely had no idea what he meant. "Come now, Darcy. Catherine Henderson is Eliza Reinhardt's cousin. Surely that influenced her decision." I stared at him. I had no idea they were related. "Miss Henderson chose us based on our presentation." He laughed. "Right. Just like your mysterious promotion had nothing to do with Eliza's ultimatum. Some of us succeed on merit, Darcy. Others need alternative methods." As he turned to leave, he added loudly enough for nearby staff to hear, "I just hope the SEC doesn't start questioning these convenient connections during their next audit." The implied accusation hung in the air. Several employees glanced my way, then quickly averted their eyes. That evening, I worked late, my mind churning through options. Finn had crossed a line, implying impropriety where none existed. His whispered accusations could damage not just my reputation but the firm's. Something needed to change. As I gathered my belongings to leave, I noticed light still shining from Gerald's office. I knocked softly on his open door. "Darcy," he said, looking up. "Everything all right?" "No," I answered honestly. "I need to show you something." I placed my laptop on his desk and opened a folder I'd hoped never to use. Inside were dozens of files, meticulously documenting every instance of Finn's misconduct over the past year. Altered meeting minutes, emails exposing client information to unauthorized parties, date-stamped screenshots of tampering with performance metrics. "What is this?" Gerald asked, voice hollow. "Insurance," I replied. "I never wanted to use it." "These are serious allegations, Darcy. They're not allegations. They're evidence." I closed the laptop. "I'm not showing you this to get Finn fired. I'm showing you because his behavior is escalating, and now he's suggesting impropriety in client acquisition that could trigger regulatory scrutiny." Gerald removed his glasses, suddenly looking exhausted. "What do you want? A clean start, real partnership, or clear separation? The current situation isn't sustainable." "I'll speak with him," Gerald promised. "With respect. That hasn't worked before." The next morning, Gerald called an emergency board meeting. I wasn't invited, but the outcome became clear when Finn stormed into my office afterward. "Happy now?" he demanded, face flushed. "You've won. The board is sending me to open our Asian office." "This wasn't about winning, Finn. Save it." He leaned over my desk. "You played the long game beautifully, documenting everything, building your case, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. I underestimated you. For the first time, I saw something like genuine respect in his eyes, mixed with the anger. "I learned from watching you," I said quietly. 3 days later, Finn departed for Singapore. Before leaving, he sent a company-wide email announcing his exciting new opportunity to expand Burkefield's global presence. Most employees celebrated discreetly. Some genuinely missed him. A few visited my office to share stories they'd previously been afraid to tell. 6 months after Finn's departure, Gerald announced his full retirement. The board unanimously appointed me as CEO. At the announcement ceremony, Gerald handed me the ceremonial key to the building his father had purchased 50 years earlier. "The company's future is in the right hands," he said, for everyone to hear. Later that evening, as we shared a quiet moment before the celebration dinner, he added, "Finn called yesterday." My pulse quickened. What did he want? What? To congratulate you. Believe it or not, Gerald smiled slightly. He said he's learning a lot in Singapore, about business and perhaps himself. Do you believe him? I believe people can change when they have no other choice. He placed his hand on my shoulder. The Singapore office is exceeding projections under his leadership. Perhaps distance provided perspective. A year later, I received an email from Finn. It contained only a link to an article about Burkefield's recognition as most innovative wealth management firm under my leadership, and 3 words, well deserved. Congratulations. I replied with 2. Today, Burkefield manages over $4.3 billion in assets. Our client base has diversified dramatically, with particular growth among women entrepreneurs, first-generation professionals, and family businesses in transition. Eliza serves on our board of directors. Her foundation funds financial literacy programs that reach thousands of underserved communities annually. Finn still runs our Asian division, which has expanded to 3 offices. We speak monthly by video conference. Our conversations remain professional, occasionally tentative, but no longer hostile. He's married now, with a daughter named after his mother. Sometimes I see him watching his child with an expression that suggests he's considering what world she'll inherit, what values she'll absorb. The sweetest revenge wasn't destroying Finn or humiliating him publicly. It wasn't even taking his presumed birthright. The true victory was transforming the system itself, creating a company where success depends on merit rather than privilege, where clients are valued regardless of pedigree, where the path I struggled to walk is now open to others. I still keep the photo from our first senior leadership retreat after I became CEO. 25 faces, representing backgrounds as diverse as our clients. Standing among them is a young woman who reminds me of myself 15 years ago. Determined, underestimated, full of potential. She joined through our associates program, designed specifically to identify talent from non-traditional backgrounds. Last week, she landed her first major client, a woman rebuilding her life after starting over at 50. The cycle continues. The world changes, one relationship at a time. Thank you so much for listening to my story today. If it resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss future stories about transforming challenges into opportunities. I'd love to know in the comments what part of this journey spoke to you most. Was it the initial confrontation, building something new, or finding a way to change the system from within? Your experiences and perspectives mean everything to me, and I read every comment. Until next time, remember that true success isn't about defeating others. It's about creating a path where everyone has the chance to rise.